Hello, my loves. I'm Maggie Wright with Method Real Estate Advisors, and this is the third part of our inspection series. Today, I have Marcus with Windward Pest Services.
Hello.
Hello. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your experience and kind of what you guys do.
So I've been in the business for over 20 years, and we do termite pests, rodent inspections, exclusion work, attic installation, remediation, and we also do that termite letter.
Oh, if you've ever gone through a home buying process, you know that termite letter is very important.
It is.
So, Marcus, what are some of the things that you find in homes when you're doing a pest inspection? Like in Georgia, what are some of the common things that come up?
So we generally start from the outside. We'll find general pests, ants, roaches. We'll find birds that are nesting in bad places around the home. We may even see some chew marks from rodents that are trying to get into the structure. And then we go in and we'll find spiders, the creepy crawlies.
Yeah, things that we don't want to find.
We don't want to find.
Okay.
In the meantime, we're also looking around the foundation and looking for termites. Termites are very invasive here in Georgia. This is the second largest state for termite activity.
How fortunate are we? I've heard the phrase, if termites in Georgia are just like the red ant hills. Like if you see as many red ant hills as you see is similar to the amount of termites that we have in Georgia.
There are 8 to 10 termite colonies per square acre. You're correct.
That's
wild. Either have them or you're going to get them. So
yeah,
that's the way it goes in Georgia.
The way it goes. That's why it's important to have those inspections and have a bond on your house.
Correct.
I tell everyone you should have a bond on your house. It doesn't matter if it's brand new or it's 40 years old. Your house needs to be bonded because termites are everywhere here.
Correct.
And when you talk about like looking for rodents and stuff, like what are the common rodents that you find and where do you typically find them in homes?
So generally there are about 4 different types of rodents that we're looking for. There's the squirrels, there's rats, and there are roof rats and there are Norway rats. So roof rats are generally in the attic. Norway rats are generally in the crawl space.
Okay.
And not only do you have the common gray squirrel, but there's also a flying squirrel.
Those are cute though.
Yeah.
But you don't want them in your house.
Like sugar babies.
Yeah, they're cute. So when you find those pests, because I think a lot of times people think of I know when I'm going through a home inspection with a client and they see there's like rodent activity in the attic, they freak out, especially if they're not from Georgia. And I think a lot of people don't realize rodent activity can be, mice or rats, like you were talking about, the ones that are common in the attic, but oftentimes it's squirrels too. What are some of the ways that you see that the rodents, I hate calling them rodents because it sounds so like creepy crawly, but it is what it is. We're in Georgia, it happens. What are some of the common ways that they get into the house?
So in Georgia, we often find that there's a builder's gap. So that builder's gap is at the roof line and below the shingle, behind the gutter.
Gotcha.
And there's just a gap where you can almost put your hand in. And it's just left there by the builder.
That's
Wonderful.
So sweet of them.
Yes.
That's so kind. A lot of times what I see too is like if you have that gap and also if there's like branches close to the house, like if you have trees over or branches or any, we are always telling people to cut shrubbery and trees away from the house because you're just giving them that much easier access.
You want about a 6-foot clearance from the shrub or tree to the house to prevent that
from happening.
Bridging over, correct.
So how often do you find rodents in the attic?
So if we go to 5 houses, we're generally going to find them in 2.
Gotcha.
So it's very common, not a problem, something we can take care of pretty easily. We take metal, galvanized metal, and go under the shingle and behind the gutter.
And close that gap.
And then we fasten it to the soffit.
And then what do you do after? So there's rodents there. If there's rodents or squirrels or whatever, there's going to be like droppings and stuff. Like what is the game plan after?
So immediately after, we're going to set up traps because we want to catch any rats, if it's rats, in the attic. Or we'll leave a one-way door if it's squirrels and allow the squirrels to go out, but then they can't come back in. So everything's sealed up except one area of the home, which we allow the squirrels to go out of. And then that goes on probably about 4 weeks.
Okay.
And we'll keep checking those traps and making sure that everything's out. And then we'll come and button up the last few areas that are left.
Okay. And I've had one recently that, I'm going to be honest, it's the worst. I've seen a lot of home inspections and I've seen a lot of activity. I've never seen anything like this. I think they threw a cat up there to try to get rid of it, but it was like the insulation was so, let's just call it covered in activity. It was feces all in the insulation. So how do you remediate that?
So no one likes to live below a litter box.
That's so true.
So we go in and remove all of the bad insulation and can replace it using a product called TAP insulation, thermal-acoustic pest control insulation.
Okay, and what's the difference between that and regular insulation?
So it's a higher insulator than fiberglass. So the R factor is higher. You need less of it to give you more insulated properties. And it's also embedded with a pest control quality, borate. And borate's not bad. When we hear chemical, we think bad, but borate's in eye drops and makeup.
It's probably like, it's a deterrent, right?
Sure.
Okay, I like that. So that's a remediation system. How much do those typically run home buyers? I mean, obviously the scope is going to be different. Your basic remediation system is about what if you're not having to do all the insulation?
If we're not having to do all the insulation, we're generally between $1,200 and $2,000.
Okay, and with insulation?
So then we're talking about if we have to remove all the insulation, generally it's going to be about $2,500 for the removal, and then to put all the insulation back to R39 or above, generally about another $2,500 to $3,000.
Okay, I mean that's reasonable, especially to not live underneath a litter box.
Correct.
So if you're not having a home inspection because you're selling your home, for homeowners, like what are good indicators that they might have activity?
So that's a great question because of the insulation in the attic. You really sometimes you can't hear the activity because they're walking on the insulation.
That makes sense.
But oftentimes you will hear scratching above your head, or you'll hear the squirrels rolling nuts around in the corner. So that could be a sign. If it's during the day, it's generally squirrels, and if it's at night, it's generally rats.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, God, please let it be during the day. Just checking. So, that's really good information. Would you suggest homeowners have an inspection like every couple of years just to make sure? Or do you think it's like, just kind of listen for it?
So, generally, as your pest control provider, we're going up in the attic at least once a year.
Okay.
But I would say if you didn't have services, you would like to have someone come out at least every other year.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, you want to maintain your home is your largest investment, and you don't want unwanted visitors in your house.
That's true. And also, rodents chew. They want to...
Very destructive.
They want to gnaw down their teeth, so they're constantly chewing, and you don't want them chewing on wires and pipes in the attic.
That happened to me in one of my houses. I was doing some plumbing work and, well, not plumbing. I had taken a toilet off and was tiling and didn't think about it. I just didn't think about it. Didn't cover it well enough. Didn't think anything about it. A couple weeks go on, toilet's already put back on, and then all of a sudden I came home and my kitchen was flooded. And I didn't understand why. So apparently this big mama jamma had went up into my attic and was living in my attic, found a little space and came down and bit the water line. Still didn't connect it until the next week. It came down to get the water line again and hit the electricity. And then I found it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I found it. It was not fun. So it happens. It happens to all of us, even as realtors who get inspections.
How about that?
So let's switch over to termites.
Okay.
So since we know that termites are basically everywhere in the state of Georgia, what preventative measures can we take for termites?
So if we don't find any active termites, we can put out the Centricon baiting system.
And what does that do?
And it's basically goes in the ground every 8 to 10 feet.
Okay.
And we check it once a year. It has the active ingredient inside of the station.
Okay.
It does not attract the termites.
Okay, some people think that.
They think we're attracting termites,
Yeah.
but we're not. We're putting out a bait that they randomly find, just like an ant would to candy. And as they find that bait, they set a pheromone trail up from the food source, the bait, back to the colony. And then it becomes a trail back and forth.
So you're looking for that activity.
We're looking for that activity in the station once a year.
So what happens if you have that activity?
If we have that activity, at that point we just leave the station alone, unless they've eaten all of the bait, which is very rare that in 1 year they would eat all of the bait.
So is that station, is it like that it's, I don't want to say a poison, I hate using that, but is that...
The active ingredient is
it'll get rid of them?
It prevents them from molting.
Gotcha.
So when they try to go back to the colony, as they feed their castmates, they go through a process of molting. That means they're growing, they shed their skin. They can't do that, so they die. So we're using their biology against them.
That's smart. And so tell me a little bit, because I know that I'm always pushing my clients to have a termite bond, like we were talking about earlier. Tell me what a termite bond really does. Like, why would you have a termite bond?
So I like to tell my customers that you want someone else to be responsible if and when you have the problem. There are over-the-counter solutions, but the key is what happens if you get termites?
Yeah.
What happens if they do damage? And you don't want the answer to be, it's your out-of-pocket expense.
Because that can get expensive.
Certainly. You want that answer to be that you trust a company that will come in and fix the problem. If it's active termites, then we're going to do a liquid treatment. We'll continue the baiting system, but that'll be the process that we can do to get rid of. And hopefully we caught it before it got to be bad, terrible damage to the home.
Okay, so I know so that's a retreat and repair bond. I know some
Correct.
people just do retreat bonds. But I always push a retreat and repair, because then that way, like you said, it's an insurance essentially. That way, if they get in there and do damage, you guys take care of that as well.
So, retreat and repair bond is ideal. The only reason you would have a retreat bond is if the home didn't qualify for a retreat and repair bond.
Because of previous damage that's happened?
Not necessarily previous damage. Let's say there's an inaccessible area.
Gotcha.
So if I get into a crawl space and I see that there's a sunroom on the back of the house that is enclosed, and it's got foundation walls in the crawl space, but I can't get under it, then it's kind of a hidden area that the pest provider can't inspect that would normally be available.
That makes sense.
So, or super low decks.
Where you can't get underneath there.
Correct.
That makes a lot of sense. What are some indicators of termites? Like, so say a homeowner is, they don't have the retreat and repair bond. They haven't called someone else because, they think, I don't have any issues. I don't see anything going on. What are some good indicators for homeowners to look for that might show that there is possible activity?
So they call them the termites the hidden invaders because they come in behind the walls.
Gotcha.
So whether the house is brick or stucco or has wood siding or masonite, they're actually coming in behind the siding or brick and between the sheetrock. They want the soft pine wood, which
that we
is
build houses with.
the stud.
Yeah.
And if the stud's not touching the ground, it's not pressure treated wood generally. And they can be behind that sheetrock and outside veneer for years without showing any sign.
Okay.
But you may see a small hole coming out of the sheetrock, and it may emit swarmers in the springtime.
What do swarmers look like?
So swarmers have wings, clear, translucent wings. They look like that you could be mistaken with flying ants. They come out in large swarms.
Yeah.
And generally they go towards the window. And they're going to come out between March and June.
That's good to know.
When the humidity's high and the heat's above, when it's about 70 degrees or above. So that would be one sign.
Okay.
If you saw soft spots or in the sheetrock or something appeared to be soft or damaged to the wall, that would be an indication.
Okay.
So the best way to find out is to call out a professional.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've also noticed that, like, a lot of times I'll see because I like to come to my inspection sometimes just because I don't know, probably because I like bugging you guys. But there'll be like little, like almost mud tunnels sometimes, like in the garage. You can see that, like around if you have trim to the concrete, sometimes they'll look for like those little tunnels. Is that a good indicator, or is that pretty much your?
Yep. Yeah. So if there's a crack in the slab, they'll generally come up through expansion joints and cracks, and they will make a tunnel because they're very sensitive to light.
So they like it nice and dark.
They like it light, nice and dark, and so they use that tunnel to travel. They're blind, so they don't know, they're not looking for an area specifically, but when they find it, when they find wood, they set up that pheromone trail and it's back and forth with your house back out to the colony.
Okay, well, I mean, that's good information to have. So with the termite bond, like what does that look like, price wise, and then like what type of commitment is it?
So the termite bond is year to year.
Okay.
We come out, we do the initial treatment. Generally, it's preventative. If we have to do a liquid treatment because there is activity, we will. And generally it's somewhere between $550 to $750.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the property.
Okay, and I know you guys work with realtors, so are there times that y'all have specials or like,
Of course, we're always making it special.
Look, I'm trying to get us a deal, guys.
Hey.
Look, and with the remediate, so there's typically like with that, hold on, let me go back. So with the termite bond, there's typically that upfront cost, which is a little larger cost, and then year over year,
you renew it for around $300 per year.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Yes,
that's very reasonable.
$1 a day.
It's worth them not in your house. And what about the exclusion systems? Let's go back to exclusion. What does that look like after you get your exclusion system? Like, what type of commitment is that? Is that something you need to keep up yearly as well?
So I recommend at least 3 to 5 years of paying the renewal. Because what you don't want to happen is we do the exclusion work, we don't hear any noises, and then next winter,
they're back in there.
They're back in.
Gotcha.
And then there's another upfront cost for you. So yes, pay your renewal, at least keep it 3 to 5 years, make sure everything is all buttoned up before you cancel that very valuable coverage.
And I run into, and the reason why I ask that is because a lot of times people are like, oh, let's hire somebody there. We can go close the nail hole, we can go close it up ourselves all the time. And then what happens is a couple months later, the problem wasn't solved.
Right.
Or they're smelling like dead things in the attic and stuff like that. That's not good. So
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, like, just go ahead and get an exclusion system. That way you have eyes on it.
Correct.
And you have that coverage. Are there any deal breakers for you? Like, if you were to go into a house that you were purchasing, is there anything that you ran into that you would be like, no, I'm good, I'm going to pass on this house? Or do you think everything's pretty much manageable?
Everything's manageable.
Okay.
Most things that we've talked about can be fixed.
Okay.
Pretty easily and relatively affordable. For us to come out and perform our services and to make the house whole again. The key is to continue the services so that nothing else happens in between time.
Okay.
So a good inspection on the front end and continual service will ensure that you have a pest-free home.
No unwanted visitors.
Correct.
So just running through, y'all handle all pests. So you'll take care of the house from the attic down to the foundation, whatever the pest is, be it bugs, spiders, rodents, and termites. That's so awesome. Well, Marcus, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in enlightening us on this topic. And definitely, guys, if you're looking for any pest services, give Marcus a call. He's at Windward Pest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.